You're listening to the Better Relationships After Baby podcast, where I believe your relationship can be stronger than ever after having a baby. It just takes tools, conversation, and support to help you get there. I'm Chelsea Skaggs, certified life and relationship coach, mom of two, and survivor and thriver of tough relationship challenges after babies. I'm committed to helping couples just like you improve your communication skills, connection points, and personal confidence so that you can have the life and family you've always dreamt of. Now, let's get to today's episode. Before we start this episode, I wanted to give a quick trigger warning. I do discuss an incident that involves near death and drowning. And if that is something that you're sensitive to in this time of your life, I recommend that you skip today's episode. Do you ever pull out an old journal and just read and remember and maybe laugh, maybe cry, maybe cringe? I do all three of those things. Before we start this episode, if you aren't a journaler, maybe start today. Being able to look back on your words and your writings and your memories is a real gift. And if you are a journaler and you haven't gone back for a while, may this be a reminder to go back and love on yourself a little bit, appreciate where you've come from, appreciate where you've been, appreciate where you are now. It serves as such a good reminder for me. But as I pulled out my journal from 3 years ago this year, it's actually like I can already feel the tears coming on, but we're going to push through it anyway. I start my journal sometimes. I'm not consistent with this, so it's not like a perfect practice, but sometimes I start my journal with just 5 pieces of gratitude, and I had done that 3 years ago. I looked at it, and the first thing I was thankful for was our family surviving a near drowning incident the day before. We were traveling for a couple of years in our RV, and we were at Lake Powell in Utah. Mike and I and the kids were sitting on the shore. I think we were fishing at the time, and the wind came in really quickly. So we started running to our truck because it was getting windy and it was going to rain, and it was just that like right before a storm kind of feeling. But as we got into our truck and we saw someone fall out or fall off of his paddleboard or out of his kayak, I'm not sure which, and didn't have a life jacket or anything. And the father of that, it was a teenager, the father of that teenager started going out, and then both heads were bobbing underwater. And my husband went out and tried to then help these two people. And during this time, I watched my husband's head like bob underwater, saw the struggle in his eyes. And long story short, another man and I got some sort of life preserver. I think it was a hose we started with, and then a life preserver to all 3 men at this point, and got them out of the water. But I had put my kids in the truck, locked the doors, told them not to leave while I went and took a hose then to try to give them something to grab onto. None of us were prepared for this. But in that moment, I remember so deeply thinking that my husband could die in that water that I hadn't appreciated him enough. And it just was so clear in my head, like, this can't be it. He's so good. He's so wonderful. He loves me so well. I realized I hadn't appreciated him enough. And him surviving that, thank God, all 3, everybody that we know of on that day in that situation, were safe. Some hospital visits and ambulance, but anyways, I realized I had not appreciated my husband enough. Not everything got perfect when I realized I hadn't appreciated him very much or enough, but it was this path of appreciation. And for me, it has been so connected to a couple of years that I focused really big on gratitude, contentment and appreciation, learning to love my life as it is and not constantly nitpicking it or trying to find the next thing, but learning how to live life in the present and live and love my people the way I wanted to. Uh, Appreciation has been a huge part of that. And that story coming up in my journal just prompted me to record this episode and talk about taking our partners for granted. And I'm not going to tell you to paint this rosy picture perfect, like you can never be frustrated again. That's not the point. You're going to get frustrated or disappointed or resentful again. But it's continually getting back to a place of real connection and appreciation more quickly every time, and having less and less of a distance or a chasm between you, so that you are learning how to keep getting better at healing and repairing and coming back together. So I'm not expecting you to fix everything with this one podcast episode, but my goal today is to talk about why and how we can take our partners for granted. They're shit sometimes, right? We're shit sometimes. I don't care who's listening right now. You're a shit sometimes. And sometimes we focus so hard on that we assume they know how much they're appreciated. And it's amazing seeing couples, when I work with them, start to vocalize and talk well about their partners in front of them. It is sometimes surprising to a partner who will then say, I didn't know you felt that way, or you appreciated all those things, or you loved all those things about me. I thought you were just constantly disappointed in me. And then the other partner is saying, no, I just assumed, right? I assumed that you knew that. Of course I love and appreciate these things. I'm just a little harder on you with these things. And there can be a gap there between what we are actually showing and sharing and vocalizing to our partners and what we assume that they know is true. But the reality, there are everyday routines and stress and exhaustion, all of that day to day, over and over and over another damn time can make it easy to overlook the little things that our partners do, and to vocalize those and to share appreciation and to share love. And at the same time, making that part of your culture, because it's not just about praising them, it's about building that into your family. And chances are, when those things are being vocalized, you're going to receive it back too. Like, what is the culture in your home and in your relationship? What are those small actions or gestures that we get so used to and then we stop doing, but they really build our partner up? They really make a big impact. And what is that for you? Like, what a fun challenge to figure out, what is that for you and what is that for your partner? It could be the words of affirmation. It could be thank you. It could be a squeeze of the hand or a pat on the back, or it could be a social media post where you're calling out what a badass your partner is. But ask and have a conversation. What is that for you that makes you feel really appreciated and loved and celebrated? And then as the partner, you get to ask yourself, am I doing that? If so, could I do it more? Could I love them even more in that way? If not, what's holding me back from that? Maybe it's a resentment. Maybe it's a comparison or a frustration. Like, if you're not giving your partner love in the way you know they like, you've got to ask why not? Because there's probably a reason. It's just something to bring to the surface and work through. These things can kind of be identified through our love languages. So if you haven't explored love languages, that would be a great place for you to start. And I do have a earlier podcast episode on that. But if you are pretty familiar with love languages, I don't want to just stop and leave it there. Like, ask your partner to get even more specific about examples of when they felt appreciated, when they felt loved, when they felt seen. And if you want to get into it even more, you can ask for examples of times they felt like maybe demotivated or not appreciated, taken for granted. Some of us are out here. I think this was me before the lake incident. Some of us are out here doing our gratitude journals and trying to think about how to do that in professional development, but we're not doing it in our own homes in the most important relationship in our lives. And I'm saying that we because I believe that was me before I had that real shakeup and awakening. Maybe that's where you are right now. And guess what? Now you're aware of it. You don't have to be ashamed. You don't have to be mad at yourself for being that way. Like now you're aware of it and you can make some shifts. You can make some changes. I also just feel like I have to say that it can be a wonderful feminist move to love your partner really well. Okay. We can still be badass, progressive women for feminist rights and love our partners really well. Okay. We don't have to punish them for being men. Those of us in those heterosexual relationships, we don't have to punish them for being men. Okay. You're not going to lose your feminist card if you love your husband well. I think there's been some misconceptions about that. And I just feel like that had to be said. Okay. It can be a really kick ass move. And like the beautiful, savory, intimate, exciting parts of life you can enjoy when you have that deep love. Like, fuck yeah. How much more fun and helpful and vibrant of a partner would your partner be if they felt appreciated and loved and motivated to step up to the plate? And the same for you. Opposite of appreciation is resentment. So if we see them as two spectrums of how we're feeling towards our partner, we can feel the far side of resentment all the way across the middle line to the other far side of appreciation. And so this work is not about always 100%. Okay, I don't want you to be perfect. I don't want you to do this perfectly because I don't know, because we're humans and I think we're supposed to be messy and explore things. But get over the halfway line. Could that be the goal? Could the goal be that you balance more to the side of appreciation than you do resentment? What's it going to take to get there? Because I can say this on a microphone and you can hear it through your ears, but that doesn't mean you're going to snap your fingers and it's going to happen. And so, what will it take for you to get closer to the appreciation side than the resentment side? Is it addressing the past wounds and talking through it with your partner? Is it having a real face to face with yourself and getting real about the feelings you're having and the thoughts you're having? Is it building in less stress and overwhelm in your day so that you can see the things that are good and you can build in time for appreciation and connection? Is it shifting your mindset to a place where you are able to see and love this life you've built instead of thinking about what's next and then criticizing yourself and your partner against that version of your life that you have in the future? Because then you literally miss every opportunity you have to enjoy the present, which was probably a dream of yours before. So then, like, nothing's going to be good enough. You try with me to add some more appreciation into your daily life. If it feels too vulnerable to say these things or show appreciation in the way your partner likes right now, that's fine. Just practice. Maybe it's like I did, starting your gratitude journal, starting your journal with 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for. That's going to get the ball rolling. And when that ball is rolling and it has momentum, it's going to be easier for you to integrate that into your relationship more, to enter the vulnerability it is to soften and to change and to let your partner in a little bit more without so many walls up. But then you'll get there. I think the world needs more joy and appreciation and connection. And if that is something that you are seeing is a gap in your life or something you just want to get better at, you want to work through the roadblocks and tear them up and have the hard conversations and tell someone just how mad and hurt and frustrated it made you so that you can put it down and get over it. That's a part of coaching. It's not all like, rah, rah, here's your next 3 steps. Coaching can be get the shit out of your head and on the table. I can listen. I'm not going to judge it, but I'm going to help you pick out the themes that need to be addressed and fucking plow through them. If you need that, that is the starting point. Then you get to be ready for not just getting over, but like really moving towards the other side of the spectrum intentionally. That whole process, babe, that is coaching. That is the coaching process. That is what I can share with you. If this has been you in any parts of this podcast today, schedule a call with me. If for nothing else, just because I want to meet you and hear your story. And so book a call with me if for nothing else but that. But really, if this is hitting for you, coaching is for you because you deserve the freedom from the same patterns and change you've had without the changes and accountability and without some of the information and strategies you need to make that progress. So do yourself a favor and let's talk about how to get to a place closer to where you want to be and how I can help you do that. Okay, I don't think I've ever done this before, but I am popping in and recording another quick segment after I had already finished the podcast for this week because I had another situation come up that I just felt like I needed to share it too. It was so perfectly aligned with this podcast episode. And so shortly after I was done recording that one, my daughter lost her earring, the front part of her earring. It is a puppy paw. It is beautiful. She loves it so much. And it got stuck in her hair and she flipped it and it came out. She just got her ears pierced 2 weeks ago. But eventually, thank goodness, we found it. And she picked it up and she said, "It is so, so beautiful." And I realized she said that when she first got it 2 weeks ago, but she hadn't said it many times since. I think she just got used to it. She took for granted what a beautiful piece of jewelry that she had in her ear. And then she was reminded of it in that moment of being afraid of losing it, thinking that maybe she had lost it. And she said something to her brother. She said, if you ever lose yours and find it again, you'll get to see it again for the first time. And that is what it is. It's choosing to see the beauty in something again, like the first time, realizing that you've gotten too accustomed to expecting it and taking it for granted. So hopefully that story also gives you some inspiration, some fuzzies, and just the opportunity to think about how much appreciation can do in our lives. If you enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful if you take a minute to help spread the word. As a small business owner, shares and reviews go a long way. So share this episode with a friend, share it on your social media, and please leave a review if you haven't done so. This helps these messages get to more mamas, and you guys, that's how we change the world.